Prince Sebastian's life became that of an identity recluse after the Titanic incident. His son James, my grandfather living in Australia with the new surname Webb, was around 5 when the Titanic incident happened. James died in Queensland, Australia when I was a child. I saw him at a family reunion here in Gippsland when I was young. The Titanic was not the only ship it happened to, either. There was a number of copy crimes afterwards with other vessels. Prince Sebastian was the proverbial wreck afterwards. He developed a group of distressing physical tics, temporarily. He ended up living a reclusive lifestyle on a beautiful property in Scotland with stunning views, a lake, castle, and other features. It was used as a film set in the James Bond movie Skyfall at the end of the film, but not with the original building. In the chilling months it had freezing cold mists at ground level that travelled down the slope at alarming speed, and ankle-freezing temperatures, Phantom of the Opera style. Prince Sebastian was originally buried in the graveyard near the small chapel that featured in the movie. When he did start slowly emerging during his recovery, World War I was officially declared after his cousin Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife were assassinated in 1914. In 1916 his father Emperor Franz-Joseph I died during attacks on royal families when the war was in progress. Replacement Successor-To Charles had already been abducted and murdered before the death of my great-great-grandfather Emperor Franz-Joseph I. An attempt was made to replace Charles with an impostor, a younger half-brother of Albert Einstein. Those attacks also claimed the Romanov royal family of Russia, whose monarch was my great-grandmother Tsarina Alexandra Fyodorova. Most people were unaware that Emperor Franz-Joseph I was another one of the royal victims. After World War I, Prince Sebastian's Habsburg dynasty was eventually dissolved as the Constitutional Monarchy of Austria and Hungary, directly caused by the impostor Charles. Austrian lunatics, not including my Habsburg ancestors, had by then already copied from Australia's name. It left only residual royal titles. I am an eligible Duke of Austria and an eligible Lord of Hungary. If it was possible to reinstate the Habsburg dynasty as the Constitutional Monarchy of Austria and Hungary, the new emperor-to-be would not be me as the first choice. One of my eligible cousins would be ahead of me regardless, and it is really not worth debating. Prince Sebastian travelled to and from Scotland and Germany to visit relatives, with his home base still in Scotland. He was a close relative of German President Paul von Hindenburg and visited him and his family quite often. He also looked remarkably similar to von Hindenburg, but noticeably around 30 years younger. Some thought almost identical. When my great-grandfather Kaiser Adolf Hitler the Hohenzollern went into politics officially in the 1930s, my great-grandfather Prince Sebastian was around to see him on the campaign trail and attended a number of campaign speeches. He thought Prince Imperial Adolf was quite handsome and in a difficult situation given he was abdicated to by Wilhelm II in 1918. In the lead-up to the 1933 election, the Workers' Party were wearing Prince Imperial Adolf's monogram flag on armbands as an election gimmick, and support for him finally ascending to monarch. Paul von Hindenburg died in 1934 aged 86, the year after Prince Imperial Adolf won a seat in the 1933 election and was elected Chancellor of Germany by the Parliament. Internet searches of Paul von Hindenburg's name result in pictures of my great-grandfather Prince Sebastian Habsburg appearing. Some of them very private and very distressing, including photographs taken by Kaiser Adolf. In the 1940s Sebastian and Adolf seemed to be close to each other without anything happening. In 1942, approximately, they met and had conversations. Around that time Sebastian took a job as Kaiser Adolf's temporary chauffeur and part-time security guard. On the first day he arrived very formally dressed and Kaiser Adolf took pictures of him with his camera. They formed a sexual relationship on Sebastian's first day as temporary driver. Below are 2 of Kaiser Adolf's photographs that day. He soon joined Kaiser Adolf in the back of the vehicle as he was too unreliable at getting Kaiser Adolf to and from events on time. In 1943 Kaiser Adolf officially asked Prince Sebastian if he wanted to become his official Hohenzollern royal consort, and he said yes. They were already casually living together. They became the officially documented same-gender royal Hohenzollern couple. A brave thing for them to do under the circumstances. There are surprisingly large numbers of photographs of them together. Some publicly available material has Prince Sebastian incorrectly labeled as Prince Rudolf. Sebastian had to go to visit family in the last quarter of 1943, which was necessary and unavoidable. An emergency health problem in a relative was the reason. People from traitor, terrorist, or lunatic types deliberately interfered with the health of one of Sebastian's direct family members in Scotland, which caused him to have to leave suddenly. It was a life-threatening issue. It was likely deliberately done to get him away from Kaiser Adolf. Sebastian made the very dangerous decision to leave Berlin and try to fly to Great Britain. It was difficult, with full-on angst, and didn't sound sensible. Kaiser Adolf argued it was not a safe thing to do. Kaiser Adolf I and his official consort Sebastian said a public farewell to each other at a train station in November 1943. The appearance of the farewell made some assume they had broken up as a couple. Consort Prince Sebastian caught a train to Hamburg, then a light plane to Scotland. When he left, Berlin was a fully functioning city with a reduced population compared to more peaceful times, with its citizens firmly in semi-lockdown. Whilst Prince Sebastian was away, his partner Kaiser Adolf I was abducted from a dinner hosted in a hotel in Berlin by his cousin Albert Einstein's sister Sadie, who was also his cousin. He was shipped to the former Yugoslavia and made a prisoner of war in an underground train station until his escape in 1959. I would like to point out that if Sebastian had been still with Kaiser Adolf and an abduction attempt had been made, he would likely have been murdered if he attended. When Sebastian risked the dangerous trip back to Berlin in early 1944, he was unaware his official partner had been abducted and of the evil terrorism uprising against the government and its immediate horrific aftermath. He flew back to northern Germany and caught the train from Hamburg to Berlin. It was still running, even though it seemed bizarrely devoid of passengers and onlookers. It stopped in Berlin, and he walked away from the train station. Berlin streets, CBD, and surrounding suburbs were almost totally deserted. It was also devoid of the usual signage, flags, and bunting. He had to hang around the deserted streets trying to figure out why there was almost nobody around. He was unaware there had been a heinously evil terrorism uprising against the German government, with most members of parliament murdered. He was also unaware that a mass murder of German civilians, military, and other officials by the perpetrators for the previous 2 months was why the streets were nearly totally empty. The perpetrators had named themselves the Neo-Nazis by the end of December 1943, the month they started their heinously evil crime wave. He tried to enter the apartment he and Kaiser Adolf were living in together, thinking something was horribly wrong, but his key would not fit the lock on the private entrance door he usually used. Prince Sebastian ended up waiting around trying to figure out what the situation was and what to do. He tried to find someone in the public entry of the building, which had a small waiting room with a reception area, wooden bench seats, and public toilets. He tried to get up through the building from the public reception foyer into the apartment he was living in with Kaiser Adolf, with no success. He did eventually encounter someone, and was illegally arrested and detained. He was questioned as to why he tried to enter the apartment and replied with the sentence, "I am Kaiser Hitler the Hohenzollerns official consort, and I was returning to my home. I live here with him." Approximately. He was photographed during the first few questions with a newspaper snapshot-style camera, chosen because he had regularly appeared in German newspapers and newsletters over the previous year after being photographed with a similar camera with his partner Kaiser and Chancellor Adolf. He was then forcefully and sarcastically told that Kaiser Adolf was definitely not available and definitely not in Berlin in an arrogant tone. He was told that if he waited, they would see what they could do to him.